Evening, everybody.
Okay. Okay. Let us begin our session this morning. May all beings be happy and secure. May all beings have happy minds. Whatever living beings there may be, without exception, weak or strong, long, large, medium, short, subtle or gross, visible or invisible, living near or far, born or coming to birth, may all beings have happy minds. Let no one deceive another, nor despise anyone anywhere, neither from anger nor ill will should anyone wish harm to another. As a mother would risk her own life to protect her only child, even so towards all living beings, one should cultivate a boundless heart. One should cultivate for all the world a heart of boundless loving friendliness, above, below, and all around, unobstructed, without hatred or resentment, whether standing, walking, sitting, lying down, or whenever awake. One should develop this mindfulness. This is called divinely dwelling here, not falling into erroneous views, but virtuous and endowed with vision, removing desire for sensual pleasures. One comes never again to birth in the womb. As we repeated every day with this metta thought in mind, let us begin our meditation. Pay total, undivided, mindful attention to your breathing, focusing entire mind on the breath, noticing the breath rising and falling, appearing and disappearing. Along with the breath, you notice the feeling. The only means of knowing the breath is the feeling. We feel the breath rising and falling. And mentally we perceive the breath. That is our perception. We are deliberately pay attention to the breath intentionally. That is our intention or volition. Then we are conscious of the breath. All these change, our breath, feeling, perception, volition and consciousness, all of them change. All of them change. And becoming aware of this change is very important. We must understand that things are changing all the time, never remaining the same. They always changing. And this will definitely lead us to higher knowledge, awareness and wisdom. We will continue this, and then our breath, the body, feeling, perception, all becomes relaxed. Mind relaxes, the body relaxes, At that level, we become so calm and peaceful that greed does not arise. Greed arises in our mind, and then we will get agitated, excited, and when the mind is quiet and calm and peaceful, greed will fade away. Greed cannot stay with the calm, peaceful, relaxed mental state. As that fades away, mind becomes even more calm, more relaxed, more peaceful. At that time we experience the feeling of metta, loving friendliness. As we mentioned many times in the past, metta has 3 levels: metta practice, verbal level, thinking level, and feeling level. Here we experience the feeling level. With that, our mind, body, feeling all becomes even more calm. When everything is calmer, we even might feel sleepy and drowsy. When we feel drowsiness, sleepiness, we must energize ourselves, exert our energy to get rid of our sleepiness and drowsiness. One way of energizing is visualizing a bright light. Light actually comes from energy. At the same time, our sleepiness fades away. And we may have even excessive energy, which causes restlessness and worry to arise. We become restless when we think of the past. Incomplete thing that we have done makes us restless. Or wrong thing we have done makes us restless and worry. Or we might be thinking of the past, of various things. Sometimes we plan the future. That also makes us restless and worry. Thus the mind vacillates between the past and the future, just like a pendulum of a clock. It goes back and forth, of the past and the future, skipping the present. So we deliberately keep the mind in the present moment. Present moment also is not empty, but it is full of motions, movement, activities. At least we notice the breath, the feeling, perception, thought and consciousness happening in the present moment. They appear and disappear in the present moment. So we try to anchor the mind in the present moment on these mental images. Then in spite of all these things, all this successive attainment, we may still have doubt about the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha and so on. In order to get rid of that doubt, we definitely must see or visualize or imagine the qualities of the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. The Buddha is perfect in every sense. He was able to teach us numerous wonderful things from his own personal experience without having a book or somebody to consult him. On his own, by his own effort, he attained full enlightenment and taught us how to do that, how to attain. And that is a very extraordinary quality of the Buddha. Also, the Buddha did not have a teacher, but he, from his own personal experience, he also looked at the Dhamma, which helped him to attain full enlightenment. The Dhamma is infallible, perfect. Nobody can distort it. They may try to interpret and misinterpret, misconstrue. All this happened because of their own mental states, not the problem of the Dhamma. It remains pristine, pure, clean. The Sangha, the members of the holy disciples of the Buddha, followed this same Dhamma and attained the same state of enlightenment as Buddha did. And therefore there have been many millions of enlightened disciples from the time of Buddha's attainment up to now. This long period of more than 2,600 years, millions of people following the same Dhamma attain full enlightenment. And we have to have confidence in them. We have to have confidence in ourselves, our morality, our sincerity. We want to achieve our goal. With this confidence, we started the practice and achieved some success, like overcoming greed, hatred, sleepiness and drowsiness, restlessness and worry are the hindrances that we have overcome. Now only hindrance remains is our doubt about the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, and so on. That also we can overcome very easily. Once we have overcome these hindrances, we feel very much liberated from greed, hatred, and delusion, and various other mental impurities. So with this, we feel glad when we notice that we have overcome them. We feel glad. The gladness leads to happiness. Happy state of mind is very good point or moment for gaining concentration. Happy mind gains concentration. Once we gain concentration, we can notice the rising and falling, appearing and disappearing of our aggregates. We notice the body rising and falling, feeling, perception, volition, consciousness themselves. All of them are constantly changing. And that is happening. And we want to become fully aware of that. When we gain concentration, we can see these changes at the deepest level. And that way we will be able to overcome our greed, hatred and delusion forever. These are the defilements that binds us to samsara, that makes our life unhappy, painful, miserable, and we want to get rid of them. In order to get rid of them, we have to have a good concentration and mindfulness. So friends, now let me stop here. Then we all meditate together until I ring the bell at 10:30 to answer your questions. By means of these meritorious deeds, may I never join with the foolish, may I join always with the wise, until the time I attain Nibbana. May the suffering be free from suffering, may the fear-struck be free from fear, may the grieving be free from grief, so too may all beings be. From the highest realm of existence to the lowest, may all beings ascend in these realms, with form and without form, with perception and without perception, be released from all suffering and attain to perfect peace. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Now friends, you can ask me your questions and Brian will read them for me.
Okay, Bhante G, can you hear me?
Right, I can hear you.
Great. Okay, the first question. Dear Bhante G, I have opened myself to allow fear to come up and out of the milk tree. I am able to stay with the sensations, but I have trouble not believing the mental pictures that accompany my fear over and over. They seem believable and end up renewing the sensations in the body in a most cyclical nature. What am I missing in this process? I watch, I wait. Do some things just take time?
Surely if fear arises, you must see the root of fear. How fear arises and from what root? Fear arises from your clinging, craving, attachment, desire for something or other. Mostly you have attachment to your body and or your future, or if you have done something wrong, fear arises when you remember the wrong things you have done in the past. Fear arises for that other people know your commitment, and then your friends and society will look down upon you. That is one. Or fear arises sometimes when you think what will happen to you after your death. You may experience or you may be reborn in a woeful state of existence. Or something like that can happen and you have fear. And therefore, in order to get rid of that fear, you must see your clinging, craving, attachment to something or someone or other. And therefore let go of your attachment to that particular thing, knowing that whatever thing you are attached to is impermanent. You are impermanent. Your fear is impermanent. Let it go and don't become attached to it. Secondly, if fear arises from nothing that you cannot put your finger on, if the fear arises from out of nothing, then you think of the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, noble qualities of those personalities, and you focus your own moral, ethical behavior, and you recall yourself that you are following certain principles, noble principles, and therefore you must say to yourself, I have no reason to have fear. So we have to see the cause of fear and do some mindful exercise to get rid of that fear. If you let the fear overwhelm you, that may become very hard for you to get rid of it. And sometimes some kind of fear is good because you avoid doing certain things out of fear. So there are various ways of dealing with fear instead of letting it overwhelm you. I think that's what I have to tell you.
Thank you, Bhante G.
Yes.
Okay, next question. Bhante, you mentioned yesterday about the 6 elements. They are namely earth, water, fire, air, space, and consciousness.
Yes.
I wonder if one could contemplate each of the elements from the perspective of past, future, or present, internal, external, gross or subtle, inferior or superior, far or near.
And
Bhante Ji, I think the person's asking if they can contemplate the 6 elements with respect to
right.
past, future, present, internal, external, gross or subtle, superior, inferior, or far or near.
Yes, and then yes.
I think that's the question.
There is no, it is a statement, that's not a question. Anyway, out of that statement, let me make a question. Perhaps the person wanted to know, when that person think of the past, present, future, internal, external, gross or subtle, far or near, and so forth, then the person must at the same time think all the past elements were impermanent, unsatisfactory, and without self. All the present elements, future, gross or subtle, far or near, internal or external, all of them invariably impermanent, changing, appearing and disappearing. If that is exactly what one should do with these elements. Every element, as Buddha mentioned in Rahulevada Sutta, and in many places he mentioned the same thing, that all these are impermanent. Why we do that? Because when we see impermanence not as a word but as a realization, then our greed, hatred and delusion will fade away. These are the root of all defilements. And then instead we begin to see the reality And then we learn to let go. Let go. That is giving up, abandoning. Abandoning is the final goal of this practice. What to abandon? Abandon our clinging, craving, grasping, jealousy, fear, tension, anxiety, and so on. Abandon. As they abandon, the mind becomes very, very free, relaxed, peaceful, and experience the liberation from suffering. For this reason, abandoning of them is very important. Okay? Next question.
Okay, thank you, Bhante G. Next question. Dear Bhante, as you know, besides the working understanding of Paticcasamuppada, the Buddha also takes on the health and situations of human societies by citing the two guardians of the world here and there, when applicable, namely Ottappa, Ahiri, moral dread and shame. Please, Bhante, what might be Mahathera's current assessment of the status of these guardians in today's inner and outer conditions?
These guardians, Ziri and Ottappa, are called the world governing factors. World is not external world, but internal world. We have to govern this world that we have. In this world we have form, feeling, perception, thought and consciousness. This is our world. So we guard our senses in this world. Our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body and mind, these are our senses. When we using these guides or guards, we restrain, discipline, guard our senses. For instance, when we see objects, then if we allow the senses to get carried away with the sensory objects, if it is pleasant, greed can arise, unpleasant hatred can arise, if it is not clear, delusion can arise. We have to guard our senses from them. Out of fear of losing our mindfulness, our awareness and insight. That is fear. And also we restrain ourselves out of shame, and we must talk to ourselves, person of my caliber, my status, my education, my practice should not do this sort of things, should not let the mind get carried away with these unwholesome mental states. I am on the path to leading to the attainment of liberation. Therefore, I should not let this happen to this world of body, feeling, and so on. So likewise, we use these two guardians to protect our mind from falling into evil, unwholesome mental states and guide ourselves to lead wholesome, profitable, meaningful mental states. And for this reason for this attainment we use these two guardians. Yes, they are called in Pali Loka Palaka Dhamma, Hiri and Ottappa. Hiri and Ottappa. Shame and fear. Protect ourselves from this body and mind. That is our world. So we use that. Okay?
Okay, thank you, Bhante G.
You are welcome.
The next question, can we use the word bhavana instead of meditation? The word meditation comes with certain cultural expectations.
Surely I prefer the word bhavana. Whoever used the word bhavana must use it with understanding. Even some traditions, like the word bhavana is used in a very loose sense, but we have to use it in the narrowest sense, meaning the method we use to clean the mind is or cultivating the mind to get rid of all unwholesome states and fill the mind with all wholesome mental states. Eventually, even both wholesome and unwholesome states should be abandoned. The meditation, the bhavana, is the very beautiful word with the word rich with meaning, full of meaning. And therefore I myself prefer the word bhavana, but we have to use it with our full understanding of the meaning. Yes. Of course, when we speak in English, most people don't understand the word bhavana, therefore we have to use the word, English word. That is, in any language. If we speak French, German, Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, Japanese, Chinese, and so forth, we have to use their own words to denote bhavana. If we use the word bhavana in those languages, for those people, they don't understand anything. And therefore, we have to be very flexible and to use local languages. And Buddha has very clearly stated this in Arana Vibhanga Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya. Arana Vibhanga Sutta. There he advised the teachers, monks, nuns, whenever they go somewhere, use local language. Of course, we may not be able to speak local language completely. We don't know local languages, but when we use Pali technical words, we have to explain it to them, and so that our translators can give real meaning to people. Okay? Next question.
Okay, next question. Dear Bhante, number one, to me it is clear that contemplating the 32 parts of the body results in anicca sanya. But could you please elaborate the link to Anatasanya of the Arupino Kanda?
No. So the person uses technical terms, Abhidhamma terms. I understand what, I don't think everybody who heard the word understand what the person means. Yes, in Girimananda Sutta, Buddha has mentioned these names. First, number one, Anicca Sanya, Anatta Sanya, Asubha Sanya. Number three, Asubha Sanya. Perception of impurities. Perception of unattractiveness. Sometimes people use even more crude term, perception of loathsomeness. These are the terms, the meaning of the word asubha or patikula. That leads to that real practice. I mentioned anatta sanya. Anatta means we have, yesterday I mentioned every part of the body, 32 or 42 or 52, whatever the number of parts we have in the body, none of them is a self. That is called anatta. Anatta. None of them is a self. And when we contemplate on impermanence, why none of them is a self? Because every one of them is impermanent. According to the belief of self is something permanent. If everything in this body, mind, is impermanent, where can we find this permanent self? If everything is impermanent, we have to understand everything means everything is impermanent. Where can one find permanent self? No way, it is just mere concept. Then, what is the other word? The person used another Pali word. What is that?
They used Anicca Sanya, Anatta Sanya, and Arupino Kanda.
Arupino Kanda, yes. Arupino Kanda means mentality. Mentality. There are two, Rupa Kanda and Arupa Kanda. Rupino Kanda and Arupino Kanda. Arupa means mentality. Arupa also is used for attaining mental states called non-material attainment. Akasana, Chatana, so forth. These are all mental states. Mental states themselves don't have rupa, form, that has weight and occupying space and so forth are the qualities of form. Therefore they don't have such form, and therefore they are called arupa. Rupa is a form. Arupa means formless. Khanda means aggregate, formless aggregates. Formless aggregates is Phassa, Vedana, Sanya, Chetana, Manasikara, and consciousness. Contact, feeling, perception, volition, attention, and consciousness. You can never find them in any form, and therefore they are called formless group, formless khanda, formless aggregate, arupino khanda. So, in 32 parts or whatever parts, when we clearly look at them in the final analysis, you don't find them in any form. They are like waves, like even in physics, you go to the last stage of analysis, splitting. I don't want to go into this atomist theory. Atomist theory means that they want to keep analyzing, breaking down into invisible, any material, any matter, they want to break down to invisible state. So Buddhism is not that kind of system. Buddhism just is, in the Buddha's teaching, in the Bhavana system, we become aware of our experience, personal experience. In the experience, you never find something permanent. And therefore we focus the mind on impermanent nature of everything, material or immaterial, form or non-form, mentality and materiality. Both are equally impermanent. That is our emphasis. So when we practice meditation on the 32 parts of the body, we know that they all are impermanent. Okay?
Okay, thank you, Bhante G. It's just about 11 o'clock now.
Okay, then we have to end this morning session with my regular benediction. We want to wish that all those patients suffering from various diseases in hospitals or at homes, taken care of by very compassionate doctors, nurses and their staff, get well very quickly and return to their normal life, continue their Dhamma practice and liberate themselves from not only this suffering but samsaric suffering and attain liberation from suffering. And all those doctors, nurses and hospital staffs who are dedicating their life, their comfort, they sacrifice their life, risking their life to take care of these people out of compassion. May they continue their wonderful service and live long in very good health and attain liberation from samsaric suffering. May all those who have lost their loved ones, may they be relieved from their grief and return to their regular normal life, healthy life, and continue their Dhamma practice and liberate from samsaric suffering. May all the leaders who have taken leadership to help people in various ways to bring peace and happiness to their life may continue their wonderful service and live long in good health. For those who are in troubled spots in the world, under various things, political, economics, wars and so forth, crimes and so forth, may they all be peaceful, happy, healthy, and liberate themselves from all these troubles and live long in very good health and attain liberation from samsara. And finally, everyone, without any exception, everyone, be well, happy and peaceful and attain liberation from samsaric suffering. Okay? All right.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Bhante.
Bhante.
Thank you.